So, Kerry, it's great to see you. You graduated from our program years ago, and we're also incredibly proud of you and all that you've accomplished since then. And can you take a step back to kind of describe for our listeners, what your experience was like here at the community high school and how you got from graduation to where you are now, Dr. Magro?
Yeah, so it was a long story from I actually went to community lower school when I transitioned out of my school district when I was about in fifth grade. So I already had a previous history with the community schools, and then after graduation, I was just so like even as a kid, I was just so blown away by the one-on-one attentive focus that so many of the teachers had that I told my parents, like, please don't make me go to high school in district. Let me continue my journey in community high school. And it was fantastic. I mean, having the opportunity to, I mean, at the time it was like 8-to-1 student teacher ratio. It was truly amazing to see how hands-on it's like we really not only were there so many incredible teachers I had over the years, but so many of them I've stayed in contact even to this day. And I think that just goes to show just the community that comes from a school like community high school. And I would not be where I am today without the focus on that transition to from high school to adulthood. So
Well,
I owe them for everything.
that's amazing, Carrie. And can you just tell our listeners or audience, after you left the community high school, you graduated. Why don't you tell everyone just briefly your journey from the end of high school to attaining your doctorate?
Yeah, absolutely. So after graduating from community high school, I went to Seton Hall University, where I got a degree in sport management before deciding to change career paths to focus on the disability community. I realized that so many individuals with disabilities were falling through the cracks. So I ended up getting a master's in strategic communications, also from Seton Hall University. So I could become one of the first openly autistic professionally certified speakers in the country. And it's given me the opportunity to travel the globe and get to talk a lot to our companies about diversity, equity, inclusion, and tapping into this untapped talent pool of future leaders in the disability community and potential meaningful employment. And then I decided I would get my doctorate at New Jersey State University. I want to do something to educate on the college level about our special needs community. And my dad was an alum from there, and I thought it was just a perfect fit for me. So I graduated with my doctorate in 2019 to become Dr. Kerry Magro.
Unbelievable. Talk about forging your own path. You saw a need and you went ahead and did what you thought you ought to do, not only for yourself, but for the community. That's really amazing.
Yeah, it's I have to pinch myself at times because it still doesn't feel real. Because even in community high school, I was the kid every single day who wore a different jersey. You probably remember, and I I fell in love. I had my laser focused key interests. I fell in love with basketball. It led to my uh, future potential career in sports, getting internships with CBS Sports and then ESPN Radio, and then really
Right.
realizing though that there were a lot of individuals with disabilities falling through the crack and wanting to do something to support them.
Right. And people should certainly check out your website, which is, go ahead, you say it so I don't say the wrong website. I think I know what it is, but go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So my website is kerrymagro.com, and you can learn more there about my books and how you might be able to hire me for your next speaking engagement.
And of course, one of the things that people will learn when they go to your website is that before you attended community high school, so we talked about post CHS time, but your pre
Yeah.
CHS time, you were nonverbal until you were about 2.5. And obviously, you were very young at that time. But can you share just what you remember about transitioning from that nonverbal world to now this position where you're giving presentations in front of so many people? And what were some of the experiences that you recall transitioning from that nonverbal to verbal period?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I was diagnosed with autism when I was 4. So my parents always saw signs that something wasn't quite right. And that led to my diagnosis. And then honestly, my first few words came when I was just about 3 years old. My first word was juice, then mom, and then slowly words started to trickle in over time. I started speaking complete sentences when I was about 7 years old, but I had some really good therapists along the way. I received occupational, physical, speech therapy very early on, and then music and theater therapy. Theater was a big part of how I think I was able to nurture my voice. And by the time I was in high school, I mean, I was talking to all my friends, and a lot of the times they would say to me, "It's like, Kerry, you have autism, but you don't look like you have autism," because I was so verbal. And it's why I talk a lot today in our communities, especially our companies, about physical disabilities and the importance of promoting kindness. Because at the end of the day, you might see something on the surface, but it doesn't mean that you're going to know every single thing about individuals and their day-to-day lives.
Right. It's interesting, this concept of kindness. I just heard a little bit of an interview with Ernie Anastas, the New York City
Yeah.
anchorman,
Yep.
and he's doing a lot of work with just being kind, and he's doing a lot of speaking about kindness in society. And it sounds like such a obvious, simple concept, but we could use a little kindness nowadays, right, Kerry?
Yeah, absolutely. Promoting kindness is kind of like one of my major themes of many of my presentations because universally, a lot of the things that could help individuals with disabilities is simply things that could help everyone. Just taking a little time to pursue competence in every single person you meet and trying to meet them where they are and understand where they're coming from, not only in the hopes of building better synergy overall for our planet, but also at the same time, maybe just finding a new connection and somebody who might be able to become part of your village.
Right. In your travels, what are some concerns that you've heard from students and parents in their high school situations, and maybe in discussions with transitions to college that you feel are common? Have there been any commonalities there? Have you learned any kind of best practices as they relate to parents with autistic children and how they navigate the high school and higher education landscapes?
Yeah, the most important thing I see overall is the importance of vocational skills. I think from that transition, the most important thing that we need to continue to educate our educators on, but also our parents, is the importance of a transition IEP and helping these kids in high school navigate what the future might have in store, whether that's post-secondary employment or for those with high support needs, what they're going to look at when it comes to housing and guardianship. I think there just needs to be a better job overall of that transition IEP to help individuals not only be book smart, but also be able to figure out the future, because independence is so key for many of these kids. I still get so many calls asking to do peer coaching and mentoring where the parents want to be involved on every single call. And I'm like, while that's great to have that village, you also have to realize that these kids are going to be adults and they need to be ready for what the future has in store for them.
Right. They need those self-advocating skills.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course, you've got a lot of great blog posts on your website, and one of your most recent ones was very interesting. It caught my eye about eye contact in the autistic community and how it can often be a way for, obviously, for folks to communicate with eye contact or to ensure that what's being discussed is being absorbed. But that's not always the case, especially in the autistic community. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So I basically started blogging when I got my professional speaking accreditation 12 years ago. And I talk a lot about different things that we need to break down stigmas for. And one, especially in the autism community, is eye contact. The importance of understanding that just because somebody doesn't look you in the eye doesn't necessarily mean that they're not listening. And that's actually something that I talk to a lot of companies about. I talk about the idea of foregoing the interview process because not only some individuals with autism, but a lot of cognitive disabilities might have challenges with eye contact. So
Mm.
doing a one-day job trial to show what they're capable of, to show that, sure, social norms might say that we have to look somebody in the eye to make sure that we're listening and paying attention to them. But at the end of the day, it is such a huge spectrum. And some individuals who I know who are in the disability community who have never had good eye contact are some of the best listeners in the world. So
Right, right. Well, and it's interesting, and another another post that you made was talking about, this was on Instagram, I think, about the characteristics of a few television characters in popular culture and appreciating that uniqueness, whether it's an eye contact issue or something else. And, we've had a few in-house training sessions about females and learning disabilities also. But can you share some thoughts about that? Just about how these unique personalities are also being seen in the mainstream.
Yeah, there has been such an emphasis on representation, especially in our mainstream media around disability. And in the entertainment world, I've had the opportunity to be an autism entertainment consultant since 2011, working on films to bring a realistic portrayal of disability to our entertainment industry as an additional crew member. And it's been such an amazing ride to see even the idea of neurodiversity, seeing people with disabilities actually gain the opportunity to play disabled characters in television and film.
Right.
And that's been one of my huge focuses in my advocacy work with our entertainment world, because it's granted, acting is acting, and there's some individuals who can play certain roles and do a tremendous job. There was a film called Temple Grandin, which stars one of the most known autism advocates in the world, and it's played by a neurotypical or non-disabled actor, and it was wonderful. It's about giving individuals in our community who are disabled an opportunity to shine, and I've been seeing that a lot more, especially when it comes to auditions, just giving them the opportunity to find those roles and those opportunities. So it's been truly, truly amazing to see. And I hope I can continue that work for many years to come.
Just going back to college, our students transitioning from, in our world, a lot of our discussions hinge on our students transitioning into college, and much has changed since you attended college too, and received a doctorate. But what was your college experience like? If you had to do it over again, is there anything you might change? Or if you were advising colleges, would you have any primary suggestions to offer to them?
Yeah, I honestly think one of the best things that could have helped me during my college experience was the focus on disability related student organizations.
Mm.
I actually, my sophomore year, I started a group called Student Disability Awareness, because I saw a lack of disability ran groups within my college campus for me to feel supported. And growing up and going to CHS and then graduating from CHS, I was one of the only graduates from that class to actually attend Seton Hall. And it felt very isolated at times. I was going in and trying to make interactions and try to make friendships with people I really didn't know. So it was really, really important, I think, for my college experience to find that village, and even creating my own group so I could find that village. And I think that's what a lot of colleges should really do, especially for their freshmen, understanding the idea of educating them about guidance counselors, any specific related disability ran groups. So individuals with disabilities who might have social limitations might be able to find their village, because then it's such an easier transition. And then also for colleges to really grasp the idea of the individualized education plan.
Right.
So when students come in cold turkey, may have not received a transition IEP, may feel like they get an IEP in college, that they understand
Right.
what the differences are to help them navigate that transition.
Yeah, and in many ways, those IEPs just make things easier also for the college. I mean, like here's what's going to work best for the student. How can you implement that?
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah. You've been speaking about autism for just about a decade now, if not a little bit more, right? And sometimes, being in the teacher's profession, sometimes teachers change their approach after they've been teaching a while. What are some ways that your presentations have changed over the years, do you think?
I think the biggest thing that I've kind of had to navigate, especially over the past few years, is normalizing this spectrum of disability. A lot of the times when I was just starting off in my career, I was talking a lot about STEM. So I was talking about science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And today, I know so many kids who are in love with the arts. I just over the past few years, we've had actors like Wentworth Miller from the show Prison Break tell the world that he's on the autism spectrum, and it's given me a better understanding of when I give my presentations, I really have to make people understand this idea of not only promoting kindness, but understanding the spectrum and defeating those stigmas. And when I was growing up, it was the Rain Man stigma, like
Right.
every single person who's autistic is great at math, has a photogenic memory, and can win you $88,000 on the blackjack tables when they turn 21.
Right.
And now today, every single person you're going to meet, whether they have invisible disability or higher support challenges, are going to have their own individuality. So that's kind of been really one of the big focuses right now, just making sure employers and the schools I work with get the opportunity to really grasp and hone in on that individuality, while in the schools also really focusing on universal design for learning, understanding that the lecture style process is slowly dying in many of our school districts.
In addition to your speaking and writing work, you're also the CEO and founder of KFM Making a Difference, which is a nonprofit corporation focused on disability advocacy and housing. And can you tell our listeners a little bit about that endeavor?
Yeah, ironically enough, I was a junior at Seton Hall, literally 2010, when I decided to when I was just coming out with that student disability awareness group. I wanted to do something to support New Jersey. And I realized that when I got to college, there weren't any peer mentoring uh, groups. So I was looking for a mentor to
Right.
help me navigate my journey, especially in adulthood with autism. And I saw a true lack of that in New Jersey. And that's why I filed for my 501c3. Uh, Took me 18 months, and then I started doing peer mentoring for individuals with disabilities from the ages of 16 to 24, focused on that transition and helping them with employment opportunities, post-secondary opportunities, and helping them try to navigate what the future has in store. And I'm thrilled to say, just because of the work we do in speaking, we speak about 100 times a year. I haven't taken a paycheck in the past 13 years since that nonprofit started. And it's been an incredible journey. We also give scholarships for autistic students to go to college, in addition to small business grants for small businesses that are hiring people with disabilities, realizing that while we have one of the lowest unemployment rates in the past 40 years or so,
Right.
those with disabilities are twice as likely to be unemployed. It's like about 8% when the unemployment rate right now for those without disabilities is 4. So giving the opportunity to do initiatives like that to support the disability community.
Oh, it's incredibly important, Kerry. So I appreciate the hard work you put in there for sure. You know, Kerry, just to wrap up, you've spoken to many groups and written many pages on autism and your experience within the autistic community. But if you had the chance to share just one nugget of wisdom about autism, if you wanted, if someone came to one of your presentations and they walked away with one idea, one concept reverberating, what would you like it to be?
I think it's about providing reliable autism resources across the lifespan. Realize that autistic children will become autistic adults, and we need to be ready for them. I would say, yeah, in every single talk I've ever given, I've asked in my presentation, just by a show of hands, how many of you have a child, a sibling, family member who's impacted by autism? And every single time, there it's almost a full house of people raising their hands. And it just goes to show, when I was growing up, it was 1 in 1,000. It's 1 in 36. My consistent mantra is, let's provide reliable autism resources across the lifespan and help individuals with autism define their lives and their journeys in the best way that they see it every single day. I typically tell my audiences that autism can't define me, and I define autism. And I hope it's a universal message that everyone could take away of, regardless of any challenge or difficulty in their life, that they could go out there and define their journeys and their lives in the best way they see it every single day.
Now, Kerry, you're a busy guy. You've got a lot of things going on, but can you share with us anything that's coming up soon? Anything that you'd like people to know about?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a film that we're getting the credit for that's coming out on October 20th. It's called Inappropriate Behavior. It's starring Robert De Niro, Bobby Carnival. One of the characters in the film has an autism diagnosis. I got the opportunity to read the script, give my notes to the director and the writer of that film. And I'm just super thrilled to have that opportunity. In addition, I was the consultant on the last season of Netflix Emmy Award winning series Love on the Spectrum. So I'm really, really excited to say that they've been renewed for season 2. So just be on the lookout for that because hopefully that will come out at the end of this year or early next. And really excited to continue to highlight stories of individuals trying to find meaningful connections in our autism community.
Very cool. Well, Kerry, I really thank you for your time today. And again, I know I said it before, I've said it a few times, but we're so incredibly proud of you, and thank you for all the hard work that you're doing. And look forward to following your story for many years to come.
Thank you so much for having me. It's truly an honor. And being with CHS, I can't, I wouldn't be where I'm sitting today without the support of that entire community. So thanks again for having me.
Thank you, Kerry. I appreciate it very much.